So back in March, Mike Brown, also known as the Duke, and I were travelling to Carp, Italy. We travelled through the snow-covered Alps, and it was a really, really long journey. But we did stop off en route at a real large windswept lake in France. It was a bit rainy, a bit cold, and although we didn't catch anything, we had a real good time, and then it was to the show. At the show I saw CC Moore Tattoo, Master Baits, a busy old arena, P Castle and Grondon Piccolo. A great time we had. Well, feels like spring is in the air finally. The sun is beating down on the surface of the water and it feels nice and warm. 1 second, Barley, come here. Sorry, just playing havoc with some swans. Yeah, feels like spring is in the air today. I've been out in the boat, seen a couple of fish mooching around, put some bait in, put around 3 kilos of boilies, some hemp, some maize, and a few tiger nuts as well, because I'm planning a trip next week. Although it feels warm today, unfortunately the weather's taken a turn for the worse next week. It's going sort of minus at night time again, but it's sunny, so you never know. I'm hoping they're going to be moving around. They're actually moving around in quite shallow water as well, no doubt because of the bright sunshine. So yeah, I'm pleased to have seen a few fish, first few fish I've seen of the year in here, and I'm itching to wet a line. So hopefully next week all my efforts will equal some will even equal some reward. That's the word I was trying to find. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Until then, see you later on. Soon enough, I was setting sail on old Tin Lizzie. That's what we call this rickety old boat on the Cambridgeshire water. I was soon setting sail looking for fish, along with my carping dog, Barley. I was soon set up on some spots ready to film the Cypography, and I couldn't wait. So I'm back down the lake, and it feels like the first day of spring today, and believe it or not, I'm here filming with Cypography with my old mate Elliot, and I've managed to pull one out of the bag, which is a right result. It was a lovely fish, about 22 pounds, something like that, a really gnarly, sort of long, missile-shaped common, and it's an absolute beauty. So Barley, come on mate. It was off the back of a nice sort of pre-baiting campaign. As you've been seeing, I've been down here sort of 3 or 4 trips, trickled a bit of bait in, and it's really paid off on this session so far. That was last night. I've got another 2 nights ahead of me filming for Cyp, and I'm hoping I can get something else. It looks really good, really warm today, and the spots are looking really nice, so you never know. Hopefully I'll be able to tempt something else. Just got a load of very aggressive early season swans out in front of me, which are a bit of a pain. The ducks are diving a bit, annoying as well, but it goes with the time of year, unfortunately. Caught the fish last night on a triple X pop-up with a little bit of corn on top, just because I've been feeding lots of corn, boilies, flaked maize, normal maize and hemp, just lots of bits and bobs that pass through the fish nice and quickly. And yeah, it's working at the moment, so got the rods back out this afternoon in position, and hopefully something else is going to happen tonight. We'll just have to wait and see, but in the meantime I'm going to enjoy this nice warm spring sunshine. Elle's plotted up down the bottom, hoping he's going to catch something as well, and yeah, enjoying it. Roll on the spring. As always, rigs were kept nice and simple. Stacey popped down to see us on the trip, and as always, he was nicking my bacon sandwiches. Good old boy. And here is the abominable snowman Yeti. Who is the man behind the mask? Please, can you reveal yourself? What was... Who is this? Please. alright. Old elbow.
But Barley Boy comes in, just wolfs all that down.
Oh, Barley Boy.
Busy cooking some chicken
Well,
for
we need some
Jeeters.
sort of something for this chicken, really.
Like oil sort of stuff.
Something. Anything.
Got the oil, Jim?
Big banana. Hello.
Don't you reckon it's a bit lubed anyway?
Juice, this will help.
Dave's
going
quite
for just the
happy
one
with
pack
the
now?
lack of oil.
There is a second pack.
Can I take that?
Oh, look at that.
Don't it? Look
Yeah,
at
and
that.
straight up. There's 4 of us, why not? Get it straight in there, mate.
Straight up.
This is very much like a chimp's tea party.
That's what it was like last time we were out there,
Get
wasn't
it
it?
in there.
It's a very mild
I
night.
see it full bore now.
This can't be good enough for Jimmy's diary, surely.
Yeah.
Richard, this is
Good as Jimmy's
this.
diary get.
What did you just say? What did you just say?
This is the peak. This is Jimmy's diary.
How
It's
absolutely dare you,
absolute maximum.
Hey,
Now let me eat my pizza.
Richard?
Oh,
We had a lovely time that night, full of laughs, but then it was down to business. The day dawned bright and sunny, really spring-like, but also clear, which meant that it was properly cold, a real frost on the ground. That said, it was a beautiful spring morning, and that sun was soon warming up the water, and eventually I was in. I caught another old resident, this being one of the old mirrors at mid-20s, and then, later that day, I managed another one, this lovely gnarly old resident. And that was it, that trip. We had a great time, and Cypography was superb. A few days later, I was back down the club lake, and I was tying zig floats up. At this time of year in the spring, they're always up in the water, and so it didn't take me long to tie up a few zig floats, punch them out there into the depths, and reel them down to the appropriate depths. I think on the day I was fishing about 5 foot, 6 foot under the surface. It was pretty rainy, not great zig conditions, but not the nicest weather in the world to be zig rig fishing, but we don't know what's going on under the water. Lovely, lovely weather. Look at that. Horrible, horrible April showers. Not the one. Or could it be the one? Thought I'd just turn this round quickly. I'm just contemplating what to do with my middle rod, because it's raining for a start. Thought I'd sit under the bivvy and just have a little watch. And about, I don't know, 80 yards in front of me, straight in front of the swim, pretty much actually on top of my right hand rod. One's just come straight out of the water. I've been told that they haven't been showing at all lately, whether that's because people haven't been watching or what, but I've just seen one, so I'm going to blast a zig straight out there, and you never know. It's a nice belly. Nice. Good boy. All done? So the day dawned bright and sunny as usual, and then it started going a bit gloomy. So once again, I tried in the reeds. That is naughty in there. Let me just talk quickly out.
Yep.
That looks naughty in there. Basically, I'm walking out on a bit of a plateau here. The lake generally slopes down like that, straight into the middle, 25, 30 foot of water. Just walked out on this plateau in the reeds here, because we've seen a few fish passing through, and at the end of the reeds it stays sort of plateauy, might be about 5 or 6 foot, so I'm going to drop a rod straight in the edge. I saw a few fish over there passing through, 3 or 4 good ones, and put a bit of sweet corn down, hopefully get something. questioning safety here, I have in fact lowered it over the reeds, and if I hook one, I'll be straight in the waders and out there. There are no snags or anything. The reeds are about 2 foot deep, so there's nothing wrong with safety. Just to make you aware of that before anyone starts moaning. I'm going to have the rod, all the lines sort of, what's the word, sort of draping over the reeds and stuff. So if I get a bite, I'll just sort of see that tight, and the rod will probably whip round in the waders straight out there. So that's the plan. There's a few fish out there, and as soon as I put some corn in, they seem to return. So yeah, see what happens. Well, as much as I tried, the reeds didn't produce any fish, so I was off for a wander to try and find some fish, but to no avail. Oh well, there was always next time. So I'm on my way to the lake. It's a beautiful, hot spring day, probably the first hot day of the year actually. Must be 21, 22 degrees, and I'm just pretty much pulling up now, and I can't wait. I'm hoping that they'll be up for a surface feed, maybe the first surface feed of the year. Maybe up on zigs. I've got all bases covered really. I've got bait with me, zigs with me, surface baits with me, everything. And I feel pretty primed because I've been down a couple of times to bait up, and it's spring, the best time of year in my opinion. So hopefully I'm going to arrive to see not too many people at the lake, and hopefully loads of carp all over the surface. That's what I'm hoping anyway. So yeah, just pulling down the track as we speak. So next time you see me, I'll be at the lake. So just arrived in the swim, as you can see. All the kit is out and ready. Yeah, so I've just chosen my swim. I've had a good walk round. I'm fishing in one of the swims that's I don't know what it's called, the reedy or something like that. Loads of reeds. There's sort of 3 people on the lake, and I got told that the fish weren't getting down the far end. They were all up this end, which is kind of true. I've seen sort of 4 or 5, maybe a few more fish up this end just cruising about, which really bodes well on a little shallow spot just off the edge of them reeds. But they're also getting down the far snags. I was told they weren't, so either someone's been very clever or very silly, because there were sort of 4 or 5 fish in the snags that I've been baiting as well. So I've seen more up this end, so I'm going to start on this end tonight. I've got tomorrow night as well, so I'm going to go and bait up the snags sort of in the dark so no one sees tonight, just in case I get a stalking opportunity tomorrow. Fish here tonight, sort of 1 in the reed bed, or near the reed bed, 2 on zigs because they're definitely up in the water, and then I'm going to go and bait up the snags for a possible go tomorrow. So yeah, just going to get the rods out. Our barley boys having a little nap in the summer sun, or spring sun even, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Well excited, so I'm going to get the rods out. All right, Poochie, been a good boy. Hey, you good boy. You're a good boy. Mad dog. Well, it's the morning after, and unfortunately I've got nothing to report. Nothing happened last night. Bit of a pain really. Thought I'd get a bite, to be honest, after losing that one last night, but nothing happened. Zig stayed very quiet. Margin rod stayed very quiet. The whole lake was quiet really. I heard one bosh about 2 AM, sort of out in the middle somewhere. But yeah, it's kept very quiet. I've redone all the rods this morning, got up nice and early, popped the zig floats up to the surface, redid those and redid the margin rod as well. So I'm hoping that I've placed the margin rod back in nicely. I've seen the bait to the bottom before the fish get there. I'm sure they will do. They love going up and down this plateau, sort of near these reeds. So yeah, hoping for something today. Greasy Grice is coming down shortly to do some more filming. You never know, they might get up on the top as well. It's flat calm out there, so could be good for floater weather if it keeps heating up like this. So yeah, excited about today.
How is that not gone?
So it doesn't matter if I'm there or not, right?
You were just afraid they'd abandoned you. So you abandoned them. You distanced yourself from the whole thing.
Whenever I reel in and cast back out, they end up where I just reeled in from, having it. Frustrating. Well, it's been really tough going, but I've managed to nick one on a floater at 6:30 in the morning on the final day. Been a really hard trip, but this Scraper 20 has made it worthwhile. An absolute beauty. Well chuffed. I'm gonna have another little go for a couple more hours, but if I don't catch anything, I'm over the moon with that. Delighted with this spring result. Right, I'm gonna get her back.